Tick tock, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. Your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D Wood, and I've got the apostate prophet with me, and I'm sure everyone is shocked. Shocked, I say, that we are on time. Everyone has noticed that ever since AP started going to church, he's been more on time. So, just in case everyone isn't familiar with the story, AP grew up in Germany, where he learned to be on time. Then he went to Turkey and was in the Turkish military, which taught him to never be on time because they don't care. And then he lived with that for a while. His background as an atheist did not give him any moral obligation to do anything one way or another. But now that he's going to church, think about how this works. You got to show up to church on time, right? Got to show up to church on time, especially the Orthodox Church, because they'll lash you. They'll lash you if you don't. So you have to be on time for church. But guess what? That teaches you that you have to be on time for other things as well. Everyone got it?
Yeah,
And that's
this is
how it
actually
works.
very significant. I didn't know that it had anything to do with the church. That I suddenly started being early to things and all that, but then I realized it apparently does. And I mean, I still feel the pain. I mean, you have to see my back. So the lashing that I get when I was late to church once. So this really puts you into a different position. So yeah,
They beat the crap out of AP to get him to be on time, but now it's he's wired. He's wired now. Like I have to be on time for stuff,
yeah,
especially I say, especially live streams.
powerful.
So anyway, guys, I have I got later on tonight. I have a show with Robert Spencer this week in Jihad. So we're going to be going through the latest in Jihad. But I saw a story early this morning, and then I shared a screenshot of an interesting part of it on Twitter. But it's a BBC article. I think it came out yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. Hey,
Stop singing. We have a live stream.
oh yeah. Hey, there's this place called Somalia. You heard of it?
I don't think it's a place. It's just something that you call, a trashy place or something, or like I don't know, like a place where you take all the trash. I think
It's
that's what you
not
call.
trash. Why you always got to be talking about people's countries? Shania and Shino are ex-Muslims from
Oh, that's an
from
actual
Somalia.
country. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah, they're
okay.
from Somalia, and they pointed out Somalia could basically be like a paradise. They have everything they need to be like an awesome place, but there's just always this struggle for power. You've got the local warlords, and they're fighting the jihadis, and this jihadi group is fighting that jihadi group, and they turn it into a massive hellhole. It could be an awesome place, but it's a terrible hellhole. And one of the problems with Somalia, one of the main problems with Somalia is unless it is changed, there is no minimum age for marriage, and they have a problem. They have a problem making any sort of changes to that law because whenever they try to come up with a minimum age. By the way, could you check that out real quick? I remember from years ago, Somalia had no minimum age for marriage, but I don't know if that
You have to
has
be specific. There
changed
are
since
actually
then.
two. There are two Somalias. Which one are we talking about? Somalia or Somaliland? Or, I guess
Somali.
just
Uh,
Somalia.
if I say United States, I don't mean United States land, which would be a different country. If I
Uh,
say if I say Ireland, I don't mean Ireland land. I mean
uh,
Ireland. So anyway, so Somalia. What do you think? I could have looked it up 9 times by myself right now.
I just googled it and I couldn't find the results. So I have
Couldn't
to
find it.
look at it.
Hang on.
Look it up again. It seems that there is a huge child marriage problem. Okay, it doesn't have a mandated legal minimum age. In March 2024, a constitutional amendment lowered the age of maturity from 18 to 15, potentially increasing the risk of child marriages. In August, a bill was introduced in Parliament that will allow marriage at puberty, potentially legalizing marriage for children as young as 10. Gosh. So there seems to be no lowest age for marriage, just a vague definition of maturity and readiness and all that. So that's it.
Well, that actually seems to be in line with some of the schools of Islamic jurisprudence, where they would just give some vague definitions. It wouldn't be as young as possible, which that's the view you get from the Quran. The view you'd get from the Quran is there are no limitations according to the Quran. In the Hadith, you do have, like, Muhammad hijab will apply the harm principle and things like that. Try to say, okay, you shouldn't harm someone, but we look at how that was interpreted by the schools of Islamic jurisprudence, and it's basically you're not going to crush the girl, and so they would talk about her having having a little bit of weight on her or something like that, where you're not actually going to crush her. And then, of course, the issue of not making the two holes into one hole. Pretty creepy stuff, but it sounds like something along those lines if they're just giving some sort of vague concept of maturity, but no actual minimum age. But here's the thing, it's hard to it'll be hard for them to ever make a minimum age, because Somalia is kind of a different place from lots of other places. Lots of other places in the Muslim world that came up with minimum ages, that was because they were influenced by Western nations that put pressure on them to make that. Somalia doesn't give in to pressure from Western nations as quickly as certain other Muslim nations. And therefore, it's going to be the religious leaders who are raising objections without interference from Western nations. And the religious leaders are going to have some different ideas from Western nations about who's ready for marriage and who isn't. Creepy stuff. All right. So, guys, we're going to have a pretty short live stream today because I have to be off before 8 to be on the show with Robert. So we're just going to read an article from the BBC. Read an article from the BBC and then see what's in the Muslim sources that makes certain people think this way.
Can you imagine you're a little Somali girl and then some pirate comes to you and says, "Look at me. I am your husband now." Oh, pretty messed up, man.
That would suck. But that sort of thing does happen. That sort of thing does happen. And happens pretty frequently, man. Happens pretty frequently in various parts of the Muslim world. You got Nigeria, Somalia, Pakistan, all over. All over. All right, let me get this article pulled up. We're going to check out this article. And it includes a couple interesting things, but let's go ahead and check it out. All right, here we go. Everyone see this? Outrage in Somalia after a man says he married missing 8-year-old. You got this? Outrage. Now we're going to read this, and you're going to find out why it should be confusing that there's outrage. So if you think, why would there be outrage? Just based on the title, it could be because he married an 8-year-old, or because the girl is missing somehow, and that may play a role in this story. We got this so far? So let's find out why there's this outrage in Somalia, according to the BBC, who says there's outrage, so you know you can trust it. Outrage has spread in Somalia after an 8-year-old girl who had been missing for 6 months. Wow, this girl's missing for 6 months. Was found living with a man who said he was her husband. So girl's missing for 6 months. They find her, and she's living with a guy who says, "What are you talking about? This is my wife." The girl was reported missing by her family in the semi-autonomous region of Puntland last September. Months later, it emerged the girl's father had consented for her to be married to an adult named Sheikh Mahmoud. You got this? Her family reported her missing. "Where is our daughter? Our daughter is missing. She's lost." Everyone goes into panic mode. We have to find this girl. We have to find her and rescue her. Then it eventually comes out the girl's father had consented for her to be married. So apparently he didn't inform his wife or the rest of the family. We're giving this girl to a guy named Sheikh Mahmoud. But it was so here's the thing. If she'd been kidnapped as a child bride or something like that, you could say, okay, there'd be outrage, and it wouldn't have to do with the age of marriage in Islam or anything like that. It would just be you married a girl that you kidnapped. That would be a problem. That happens quite a bit in the Muslim world, but it's usually Christians or Hindus or something like that that are being kidnapped and taken. Taking a Muslim girl, that would be a different story. But turns out, nope. The father said, "Hey, you take my 8-year-old daughter."
What did you get in return? I wonder.
Don't know. Don't see it here. Security forces, so down at the bottom, security forces surrounded the man's house last week and forced they way. Come on, BBC. Security forces surrounded the man's house last week and forced they way.
And they forced their way in.
Yeah, I know. What is this, like BBC Ebonics? They forced their way. They forced their way in after he locked himself in a room with the girl. So police surround the house and he locks himself in a room with the girl, 8-year-old girl. But they force their way in. Everyone got this so far? All right. The incident has sparked anger. The incident has sparked anger on social media. What for? It was okay. Consent was given. Her father consented. He didn't inform the rest of the family and pretended that the girl had been kidnapped. It's actually kind of messed up, right? So it sounds like he gave away his daughter to a dude, probably in exchange for money. Didn't bother to tell his wife. Then his wife's like, "Where's our daughter? Where's our daughter?" And he didn't want to tell her. Hey,
I don't know.
Yeah, I gave her. Yep. Oh, no, I have no idea what happened. No idea. She's like, "Call the cops." But by that time, he's too deep into the lie, so he can't okay, I gave her. He's like, "Oh yeah, let's find her. Let's call the cops." And so then the police get involved, and then months of searching. This guy keeps his mouth shut that he gave his daughter to this dude, and just pretends we have no idea. Did she run away? Was she kidnapped? No way of knowing. Meanwhile, he knows who he gave his daughter to. Wild stuff. The incident has sparked anger on social media and public protests in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. It has also prompted fresh debates about child protection laws, as currently there is no minimum legal age for marriage. As currently there is no minimum legal age for marriage. What's more shocking than the tragedy itself are the allegations of abduction and the fact that her family had no knowledge of her whereabouts for months. Well, her dad did, but the rest of the family, no, because he kept that to himself. Fadumo Ahmed, chairperson of leading rights group, the Somali Women Vision Organization, told the BBC, "We trust the responsible institutions to take the right and necessary legal action." What legal action? Not telling your wife that you gave your daughter away in marriage? Like, there's no minimum age, so the guy can legally marry her. The father gave consent. I don't even know what the necessary legal action would be here. But anyway.
To ban Islam, maybe? Well.
I mean, that would be a good legal action. That would be a good legal action. Or to just say, you know what? Who cares about Muhammad? That dude is weird and creepy. Let's go ahead and make a minimum age law. Got to do it. Okay, so some sort of legal action. No idea what that is. According to the 8-year-old's uncle, she was taken from her home in the city of Bosaso last September by a female relative. This relative said she was escorting the child on a trip to see another uncle. So the father and some unnamed female relative plotted. Isn't this creepy? It almost sounds like the guy knows that his wife is not going to consent to giving away their 8-year-old, and he's just like, okay, I can't tell her. We'll make it look like a kidnapping so that she freaks out and has no idea where her daughter is.
I'm actually kind of surprised. I guess positively surprised that at least in this case, the woman is not a complete, slave nut job or something.
Yeah, so yeah, if the guy's basically hiding it from his wife, then sounds like the woman is not just blindly going along with her husband and so on. So that's good. Um, so according to the 8-year-old's towards the top now, according to the 8-year-old's uncle, she was taken from her home in the city of Bosaso last September by a female relative. This relative said she was escorting the child on a trip to see another uncle. But months later, a video surfaced online showing the girl reciting the Quran. Which verse do you think she was reciting, AP? I'm guessing she was reciting Surah 65, verse 4, which had been taught to her by her husband right when he married her.
I think she was reciting Surah 4, verse 34.
Yeah, that would work too. That would work too. 434 would work too. Matter of fact, probably those two verses were all she learned of the Quran. So Surah 4, verse 34, that if you rebel against your husband, he could beat you into submission. And Surah 65, 4, which talks about marrying, having sex with, and divorcing girls all before they've reached the age of puberty, which is why there's no minimum age for marriage in Somalia to this day. So a video surfaced online. So someone's checking TikTok and finds a girl reciting the Quran or something. They find hey, this is our daughter. We've been looking for her. But here she is in this video reciting the Quran, which someone posted to social media somewhere. And then the family says, okay, let's track down this account and find out who's posting video of our daughter.
That's so messed up, man.
It's extremely messed up. Her family subsequently launched a search for the child. It is unclear why they did not do this sooner. Well, it sounds like they were searching for... Oh, I guess they mean before the video surfaced? Yeah, I don't know. Pretty weird. They discovered she was in the Carmo area living with Sheikh Mahmoud. I wonder if that's a name or if he's a sheikh. I don't know, because sheikh can also be a name.
He's probably just a sheikh.
What did you say?
He's probably a sheikh.
Probably a sheikh.
He's
oh, yeah.
shaking it.
Yep. That's why he had her reciting the Quran. Sheikh Mahmoud initially said he was solely teaching the girl the Quran. So, hey, what are you doing? Because remember, they surround the place. He locks himself in a room with the girl. They force their way in. And they're like, hey, what you doing with this 8-year-old in here? And he insists, I've just been teaching her the Quran and posting videos online. And they're like, are you sure that's all you were doing? And he's like, okay, I was doing something else. Yes, we all know. But after legal complaints were filed, he changed his statement, saying he had married the girl with her father's consent. When asked by the BBC, oh, here we go. Look at this. You ready for this, AP?
Yes.
Because this is where it gets real. When asked, let me put this up at the top. Here we go. When asked by the BBC, this is the important part, ladies and gentlemen. When asked by the BBC how he justified marrying an 8-year-old, how could you do such a thing, even though it's legal? When asked by the BBC, but it's the BBC asking him. When asked by the BBC how he justified marrying an 8-year-old, Sheikh Mahmoud said that the traditions of Islam's Prophet Muhammad, along with that of the Shafi'i school of thought, allowed child marriage. AP, is he correct about the traditions of Islam?
Bing, bing, bing. Yes, he's correct.
But is he correct about the Shafi'i school of thought?
Yes, he's correct.
Oh, so he's correct.
He's correct that it's the Shafi'i school of thought, but it's not just that. So
this guy is correct as far as his justification goes. There could be other justifications in the Muslim sources, but hey, I'm doing what Muhammad did. And we are under the Shafi'i school of thought here, and that says it's fine. Well, guess what? So do the other schools. So do the other schools. You have to get to some modern imaginary school that's made up in the 21st century to find something
All the
else.
4 schools say it is fine. And if, in fact, they say if she's 9, it is fine.
Yep.
If she's younger than 9 and you see signs of maturity, it may be fine, and so on.
Yeah,
Or
it depends
it
on whether
actually
it's fine.
traditionally says even if she doesn't show signs of maturity, if you're not going to break her permanently, it's fine. That's basically what Islam says.
And yep, and we've seen this over and over again from people like Daniel Hakikachu and so on. Pretty creepy stuff. But it is interesting. Hey, so you get this BBC reporter. How in the name of common sense can you justify having sex with an 8-year-old? You sick freak. Where'd you get that idea? You lunatic? Muhammad? Oh, well, I'm starting to sound like an Islamophobe, so I'll just keep my mouth shut. Let's see. And by the way, guys, the point of this is beliefs matter, and who you accept as a prophet matters. This all matters. And we sit there having debates about this. We actually have debates about whether this is okay. Inspiring Philosophy debated Daniel Hakikachu on child marriage. I've had a couple of debates on Muhammad and Aisha. But you've got the Dawa guys, and they are the world's leading defenders of child marriage. But the point is this. This is not just some sort of intellectual exercise or some random debate topic. These beliefs have real world consequences. And it's the Muslim leaders and so on who stand in the way of protecting these young girls. Because the idea is, well, if you say, a girl has to be 13 or 15 or 17 or whatever, then you'd basically be not taking Muhammad as your pattern of conduct. When the Quran says Muhammad is your pattern of conduct. Therefore, you just can't do it. You just can't do it. And then you've got in the West all these Dawa guys, and they're all defending it. They're all defending child marriage. And we think, okay, well, it's not like they're actually going to change the law. No, these things have real world implications, and countries can change their laws about these things. So pretty creepy. It's just yet one more situation where we're sitting there arguing against these guys. These guys are calling for it being legal to have sex with 4 and 5-year-olds. Daniel Hakikachu, 4 and 5-year-olds. It's fine, right? 4 and 5-year-olds. We're saying, no, don't do that. And somehow we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys. We're the Islamophobes. We're the bigots for saying, guys, you need to pay attention to what's going on in Islam. You need to pay attention to what's going on in Dawah. You need to pay attention to what's in the Muslim sources. And because we say this, we're the bad guys. Meanwhile, you've got people having sex with little girls. So when asked by the BBC how he justified, how could you do such a thing or think that it's okay? How he justified marrying an 8-year-old. You're sick. You're sick. Sheikh Mahmoud said that the traditions of Islam's Prophet Muhammad, along with that of the Shafi'i school of thought, allowed child marriage. Now, the second I read that, AP, literally the second I was reading that, I was thought, the next paragraph, they're going to have to say that it somehow doesn't have anything to do with Islam. They're going to have to say it somehow, right? So
Yeah.
you know that anytime there's anything that could be interpreted as a criticism of Islam, just wait for the next paragraph, ladies and gentlemen. That's all you have to do.
I don't even want to see. I just want to stop the stream right here.
Yeah, we should just cut the stream right here and leave it on, I can't say it's a positive note because it's extremely messed up and evil, but it's a positive note in reporting that they're actually like asking the guy where you got this idea. And then, contrary to almost everything we've ever seen from the BBC, they actually give the answer that the guy gave. Hey, this is part of my religion. This is part of my religion. And it's because of Muhammad. It's because of Muhammad and my school of jurisprudence. By the way, they probably only tossed in the school of jurisprudence just so people will get the impression that, other schools might have different ideas. Not, they all have the exact same idea.
It might just be a radical, extreme interpretation of Islam.
Yes.
Otherwise, Islam is a religion of peace, and it doesn't end of reason. Of
Yes,
course,
well,
it wouldn't have such things. Oh, no, no, no.
yes, the problem is not Islam. The problem is just the Shafi'i school of thought that influenced this guy.
Stupid Shafi, it's their fault. It's not Islam.
Their fault, but everyone else is fine and great. So, next paragraph, right after this guy points out, I got this from Muhammad, guys. I didn't make this up. I got this directly from Muhammad. After the BBC questioned his reasoning. What reasoning? He's stating a fact. After the BBC questioned his reasoning, citing opposition from numerous Somali Islamic scholars. What is their opposition? Tell us what the opposition is. Tell us how you would argue against this from Islam, from an Islamic perspective. Now, once a country makes some sort of minimum age law, you can say, well, it's just the law. It's the law. We made the law. But if you have no minimum age for marriage, then if you're a Muslim, what are you going by? You're going by Muhammad's example. So what are the Islamic scholars, the Somali Islamic scholars, going to say that would make this wrong? He had the consent of the father, and he married her. She's 8. He is following the example of Muhammad. How could you possibly condemn this? And I would be surprised. So you basically got two possibilities. One, the reporter's making this up. Oh, there are all these scholars who say that it's wrong. Or that the scholars are basically lying to the BBC reporter going, oh, yes, you're shocked by that? You're shocked? Are people going to be surprised by this in the UK and wherever they read this? Are people going to be surprised? Oh, yeah, then just say, we condemn it. Yeah, it's not part of Islam. Just say something like that. Okay, I'll report that.
What's funny here is that the BBC apparently is here trying to argue from Islam to argue with this guy against the child. I wonder if this even happened.
Yeah.
I wonder if the conversation even took place. Yeah. Like, it's like they are trying to appeal to Islam to say, oh, but numerous Islamic scholars like A, B, C, D, E, F, and G all say that this is not allowed. So why would you do this? And he's like, no, I stick to my extreme interpretation of Islam, which is why I will never. I mean, that probably didn't happen.
Yeah, of course not. Especially when it says citing opposition from numerous Somali Islamic scholars. You don't name any of them. But somehow the reporter went to all these scholars. And I just went from scholar to scholar to scholar. And I was like, what's going on with this child marriage? And scholar after scholar after scholar, numerous scholars. They all said, no, this has nothing to do with Islam. He's just an extremist.
In fact, just for this, I spent several years in Somalia to talk to numerous scholars to get their opinions on this, which is why this is a delayed report, because I wanted to go to all the scholars.
Yes, this story actually took place in 1942. I've been working on this story since then, going until I interviewed every scholar in all of Somalia. And every last one of them said, no, this is not allowed. No, Aisha was 18 or 25 or 147.
Yes, actually, she was 81, not 18. They got the number wrong. They reversed it.
They dropped a 0. She wasn't 9. She was 90. So, yeah, guys, anyone believe this guy went to numerous Somali Islamic scholars and got the answer? I don't. AP doesn't. So, but anyway, if he did go to any scholars, they lied to him because they're like, oh, he's a reporter for the BBC. Let's make something up. Sheikh Mahmoud maintained that he would not abandon the marriage. So after the BBC questioned his reasoning, the BBC's questioning, we at the BBC question your reasoning here, even though your reasoning is airtight from an Islamic perspective. Muhammad did it. It's okay. Citing opposition from numerous Somali Islamic scholars, Sheikh Mahmoud maintained that he would not abandon the marriage.
I'm not doing it.
I will not abandon my wife. Not for you, not for anybody. Allah says it's okay.
I love her. We love each other. We will never leave each other. You want to get between us? We will not allow this.
We're like Romeo and Juliet over here.
I didn't ask her, but I think that's how she feels too.
Sheikh Mahmoud, wherefore art thou, Sheikh Mahmoud?
The general idea here is that you should keep your children away from somebody named Sheikh Mahmoud.
Yes. If someone named Sheikh Mahmoud wants to teach your daughter the Quran, do not let him do that.
Yeah.
Because that ain't all he's going to be shaking. Puntland's... What's wrong with you, man? Puntland's police and human rights authorities intervened on March 25th. Oh, so this is very recently. Intervened on March 25th, removing the girl from the man's home after her family filed a complaint. So the dad was okay with it, and then some unspecified female relative, but once mom and everyone else finds out about it, uncles, all that, they're like, nope. Not happening. Even though it's completely justified by Islam, we are actually better people than our religion commands us to be. And therefore, we just know you don't do that to an 8-year-old girl. Give us a girl back. Now, it's going to be a problem if there was a dowry and so on. So you're going to have to give that back by taking the daughter back. Hope the dad didn't spend all that money. Removing the girl from the man's home after her family filed a complaint. The girl is now back with her family. Well, that's good. Puntland's police force told the BBC.
Additionally, she's back with the family? She shouldn't be back with the family, man. She should be taken somewhere else.
Well, I mean, apart from her dad and that other female relative, the rest of her family sounds pretty cool. They're like, no, bring her back. But the dad consent. I don't care. Get her back now. So the rest of the family.
I don't trust the rest of the family either.
Matter of fact, I mean, if the dad had to keep it secret from the rest of the family may actually be okay. Stop having a bad opinion of people just because they're Somali, AP.
I don't trust the rest of the family. That's
there is something sketchy going on here. I mean, seriously, it could be a situation where guy paid for her and stuff like this. They spent the money and they're like, hey, I bet we can get her back. We'll just complain to the police.
Yeah.
So it could be something shady like that. I have to say, kind of looks like the dad and a female relative conspired to get rid of her and then covered it up because they know that the mom would not approve or something like that. Anyway, the girl is now back with her family. Puntland's police force told the BBC. The BBC. Shut BBC. Additionally, an investigation into the case has been launched. Government officials have said child marriage remains prevalent in Somalia. You think?
Huh. Interesting.
Where they got that idea? Huh. According to a report published in 2020 by the United Nations Population Fund and the Somali government, 35% of women aged between 20 and 24 in the country were married before the age of 18. In 2017, this figure stood at 45%. The rate of child marriage is driven by various factors, including poverty, insecurity. Yeah. You give the correct answer as I'm going through these again. The rate of child marriage is driven by various factors, including
Islam,
poverty,
Islam,
insecurity,
Islam,
and traditional customs,
Islam,
that often disregard a girl's age in wedding arrangements.
Islam.
Can we think of a religion that disregards a girl's age in wedding arrangements?
Islam.
Yeah, that's out. Yeah, you win. You got the correct answer.
You see?
In an attempt to tackle the issue, Somalia's Ministry of Women and Human Rights submitted a draft child rights bill to Parliament in 2023. That's good. See, they're making progress, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there's a however. Dang it. Why did there have to be a however? However, the proposal was sent back after MPs objected to certain provisions. I wonder on what basis they objected to those provisions. Any theory?
Islam.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably the correct answer. The bill is expected to be reintroduced, but there is no clear timeline for this. So, in an attempt to tackle this issue, Somalia's Ministry of Women and Human Rights submitted a draft child rights bill. So you're looking at this going, women and human rights? We're talking about little girls. We're not even talking about women. Make it little girls and human rights. Anyway, they tried to draft a bill. It was sent back after objections. And they don't say why, but guess what? It's the exact same objections we have from the guy who married the girl. We know what that is. Right there in the middle of the page. When asked by the Bay say how he justified marrying an 8-year-old girl, Sheikh Mahmoud said that the traditions of Islam's Prophet Muhammad, along with that of the Shafi'i school of thought, allowed child marriage. When the Human Rights Bill went before the government, what were the objections? They don't say, but we know exactly what it is. We know exactly what the objections would be. The objections would be, hey, you can't make a law against this because the traditions of Islam's Prophet Muhammad, along with that of the Shafi'i school of thought and any of the other schools of thought, allow child marriage. Mystery solved. Yeah, so Islam.
The funny thing is that the name Mahmoud here. Funny. Well, sometimes it can be, but the name Mahmoud here is basically a different form of the name Muhammad. It is derived from the same meaning, and is just another way of naming your child, because you don't want to name every child Muhammad, so you name one of them at least Mahmoud sometimes. So it's very much about Muhammad here. This guy is another Muhammad right here.
Doing exactly what Muhammad taught, doing exactly what all the Dawah guys keep defending. He's doing exactly what all the Dawah guys keep defending. And we're sitting there trying to show people why they need to take a stand against this stuff. What does everyone in any position of power or authority in the West say?
Oh, no, that's Islamophobic.
You're so bigoted. You're so racist.
Oh my gosh.
Let's look at a couple clips real quick. So here's Ali Dawah. Saying that if his daughter got her first period by the age of 9, he would tell her she's ready to be married. And I have to say, as repulsive as this is, Ali Dawah is a much better person than his religion calls him to be. So much like the family that wanted their daughter back. Let's see.
You asked me, would I allow my daughter to get married at 9? I'm saying the analogy is wrong, because our teachers the woman has to be sexually, mentally, and physically ready. That means if my daughter wants to menstruation, hold on, let me finish. If my daughter reached the age of menstruation at 9 years old, I would say you are ready. You are ready to get married.
You're ready to get married.
Got that? So first of all this, guys, you hear it all the time. In Islam, a girl has to be mentally, emotionally, physically mature. Where are you getting that? Where? You ain't getting that from the Quran. And you ain't getting that from the Hadith. So where are you getting it from? Not from your sources. Not from your sources. So yeah, welcome to Fantasyland. But even then, I mean, I wish they actually took that seriously, because if you said mentally, emotionally, and physically ready, prepared, you wouldn't say, well, as soon as a girl gets her first period, she's ready. She's ready. You wouldn't. That's a step in development. She's still in the process of maturing. That's part of the process. That is one step in her development. Puberty is a process that takes years. It takes a long time for a girl's hips and birth canal and so on to widen. Also, while girls are young, their bodies are still, if they're still growing, their bodies are still using the nutrients they're taking in to build their own bodies. And then you put a child in them, and this has to divert resources from building their bodies to building the child's body and so on. So all kinds of problems, all sorts of health problems arise from getting a girl pregnant before she is fully grown and so on. But in Ali Dawah's mind, old enough to bleed, old enough to breed. And again, as revolting as that is, he's massively better than what his religion actually says, because it doesn't say. You could be completely prepubescent. Let's check out another clip real quick. Just so everyone knows, we're not making this stuff up. Here's Muhammad Hijab. He's talking about what the Quran says. If you go just with the Quran, it's very clear. You can have sex with a girl before puberty. He points out, if you just go with the Quran, you can have sex with a 5-year-old according to the Quran. To be clear, Muhammad Hijab, at least officially, does not believe that it's okay to have sex with just a random 5-year-old. He believes you have to check girls to see when it's safe so that you won't really harm them or something like that. And
although he did imply that he would be attracted to a little girl that has wide hips.
Yeah, he was talking about a 13-year-old. He's like, what if she got wide hips and she got this big round thing and shaking it in your face? Like, what you gonna do? Of course you have to hit that. Oh, this
just thinking about it makes my mouth water.
What a bunch of sick creeps, man! And it's all the Dawa guys. Which Dawa guy's not like this anymore? Wild. Anyway, so just to be clear, he is not saying you can have sex with a 5-year-old. He's saying according to the Quran, you could. It's halal according to the Quran. But once you factor in Muhammad's harm principle, which he wasn't even talking about little girls there or anything, but he just said, don't harm, and hijab. Oh, okay, don't harm. So don't have sex with a 5-year-old, and unless she's ready. But he is clear on what the Quran says about this issue for everyone who denies it.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all.
Not found in the Quran at all.
If you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old.
According to the Quran, it is halal. It's permissible to have sex with a 5-year-old. This is not D. Wood saying, this is not the apostate prophet saying, although we would agree, according to the Quran, that is perfectly acceptable. But this is Muhammad Hijab, one of the most popular da'is in history.
Sheikh Mahmoud Hijab.
Sheikh Mahmoud Hijab, saying it's perfectly acceptable according to the Quran.
In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ, and the ones who had never been pubescent before. And by the way, this is very important, yeah?
It is.
I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason,
and I want all non-Muslims to be aware of it too. I want all Muslims. I agree, because lots of Muslims would have a problem with this, and they don't know it. So
every time that I listen to this, I find it fascinating that he finds it very important that Muslims everywhere are aware of this.
Yeah, everyone needs to know. According to the Quran, you can bang a 5-year-old. So if you don't like that, you have to agree with me and go to this harm principle and listen to this. What's crazy is all these girls sitting there. Like, look at that chick in the white in the middle. And some of them I recall looking a little concerned at various spots in the longer video. But Muhammad Hijab wants all these young girls to know they're basically too old by now.
why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds.
Back it up.
Yeah?
We don't want to.
I want all Muslims to be aware of this.
There we go.
The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty.
Nothing to do with it.
Wait a minute, what did you say?
Hey, what'd you say?
It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahid. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that.
Can't go around
that. The Quran doesn't say.
Did you catch that, guys? You cannot go around the fact. We're talking to you, Ali Dawa. You can't go around the fact that the Quran allows sex with prepubescent girls. You can't go around that. If you want to apply some other principle from the Hadith and so on, that's fine. You cannot get around the fact that the Quran allows sex with prepubescent girls. That's what he said.
Doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. I dare you to find one verse in the Quran.
Triple dog dare you.
Where it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm.
Chapter and verse.
Or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. So if you're a Quran alone, you're allowed to have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds. Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent. One verse. I want one verse in the Quran from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, which says that she has to be pubescent.
I've just said that.
So
One
okay,
verse.
so that makes it halal from your perspective. From your perspective, it's halal. You know, in the Quran it says, "Hurumat alaykum ummahatukum." It says you're not allowed to marry your mum. It says you're not allowed to marry your sister, or your auntie. Where does it say you're not allowed to marry a prepubescent?
Got this? And guys, you know, he's got a bunch of Quran-only Muslims around him. And if these guys were aware of a verse that ruled this out and said, no, you can't have sex with a prepubescent girl, would be a good time to bring it up, but they can't. So let hijab give us the conclusion. What's the takeaway?
I'm looking for one verse that you can say, you pinpoint it and say this is where it says
No such verse.
prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia.
Did you catch that, guys? If you're Quran alone, if you just take the Quran and say, this is my guidance in life, he says you're steered towards a severe type of pedophilia. This is not me. I mean, just imagine this. If I said, hey, guys, if you just read the Quran, you'll be steered towards a severe type of pedophilia, I would be blasted for that. How dare you? You're a Islamophobe. What a bigot. What a racist. How could you say such a thing? He's shouting it at Speaker's Corner. If we just go with the Quran, the only thing the Quran says is, yes, you can have sex with prepubescent girls. So fine for him to say it. Let me back up.
Whatever is not allowed. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia.
Severe type.
A wife abuse, a severe type of wife abuse.
You know what's funny is he added severe type of pedophilia. Why? Because even if you go with the hadith, the hadith are steering you towards pedophilia. The hadiths are saying you're totally fine being a pedophile. That's fine according to the hadith and the Quran. So he has to clarify and say, okay, well, it would be a severe type. Because
we're all pedophiles, but I'm just saying this is a severe type of pedophilia. You know?
Yeah, of course, we're pedophiles here. We all support this, but you know, we don't want to be severe pedophiles. That's crossing the line. You know, a little bit pedophile is good, but you know, a lot of pedophiles severe. Maybe even a lot of pedophiles.
Let's not be extremist pedophiles. Let's not be extreme pedophiles. Let's
Be
not
moderate
be crazy
pedophile. We want to be we want to be moderate pedophile. Muhammad Hijab, defender of moderate pedophilia. And then we have Daniel Kikachu, the promoter of severe pedophilia. Oh boy. All right. So let's go ahead and check out Daniel Hakikachu here. So this is Daniel Hakikachu in his debate with IP.
You mentioned the period comes at the end of puberty. Are you saying someone can marry and have sex with someone prior to getting their period?
So according to Islamic law, when the body is fully formed because of puberty, the period comes at Tanner stage 4, which is the end of puberty. So yes, when there are signs of physical maturity, then it becomes permissible for the husband in Islamic law to have marital relationships or consummate the relation with his bride. And this is the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who married six.
Before the age of menarche.
Peace be upon him.
Before the period.
Okay.
Islamic.
Before their period.
You know what precocious puberty is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what is it?
It means starting puberty unusually early, like
Can
beyond
you have,
averages.
is there anything in Islam that prevents you from a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
No, marriage can happen, you can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
But could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old consummated if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible, as I stated. That's
What about
the
age
principle.
4?
If there are signs
3.
of... So this is something that becomes biologically impossible because precocious
I have
puberty,
a study
there are
that shows
no...
it goes as early as 11 months.
He was about to say there are no cases before at the age of 3 or earlier, and IP, nope, 11 months.
All right,
I
well,
love that
that's something
he's
that
just
the
so quick about this. You know?
Yeah, he is. He's a beast.
parents would not... the thing about Islamic marriage is that parents are involved at these ages. And when you look at the marriage of the...
Did you catch that? Parents are involved. Yeah, what if the dad gives away the daughter? And in the story we just read, she was an 8-year-old. What if she was 6? What if she was 5? What if she was 3? What if she was 11 months? The only requirement Daniel is giving is some sort of signs of maturity, which in the Muslim sources would not, you don't need puberty for that. But if they're in this discussion going with puberty as a sign, great. You have what's called precocious puberty, and that can start as early as 11 months. meaning you're talking about a baby, but the baby has a medical condition and goes through puberty way earlier than normal. And so that was his condition. And so now he brings in parental consent as the other condition. So some sort of sign of maturity and parental consent. Well, what if the parent says, okay, 11 months old, I don't know, my local scholar says as long as there are signs of maturity and she's an 11-month-old and she's gone through precocious puberty, so it's fine. What then? There's nothing else. There's nothing else. And he doesn't want any sort of laws that prevent this from happening. So anyway, guys, that's Daniel Hakikachu. Wanted to point out, you've got some of the world's leading Dawa guys. They're all defending this sort of thing. And you see the results. The results are a dad can give away his 8-year-old and mom's a better person and doesn't want that to happen.
If there are signs, it is done. Yes, and you will.
We'll be watching.
Hey, that's
We'll be
funny.
watching. We'll be watching. We'll be watching you. A child, Brian.
I just thought of combining those two clips. Daniel Kikichu and Charlie Down.
Pretty witty. Pretty witty.
If there are signs, then yes, it is done. Yes, and we, you know what, we'll be watching.
We'll be watching. All right, let's take these super chats, and then we're just going to take a look at the Muslim sources because these guys are saying it's from the Muslim sources. That's what Sheikh Mahmoud said. Now, who is anyone to question the great Sheikh Mahmoud but the BBC? What a bunch of clowns, man. They had to make it sound like he's just making this up or he's just some weirdo from some weird school of thought. They had to make him sound like a weirdo and up all the sheikhs. So many sheikhs, so many Muslim scholars in Somalia told us, no, this guy's completely wrong. We can't mention one of them by name. We can't mention anyone.
They all asked not to be named. Yeah.
There's so many, though. So many of them. They didn't want to be named because they don't want to get called out by Sheikh Mahmoud. They're scared. They're all scared of Sheikh Mahmoud. Oh, boy, what is this religion, man? All right, so we're going to check out the sources just to see who's right, the BBC or Sheikh Mahmoud. You guys can decide now, make your predictions who's right according to the Muslim sources. Bully McGuire says, AP sold me free candy from his van. Pretty cool. I didn't know you had a van.
Don't tell it anyone. Don't tell anyone about this, man.
I grew up Reformed. I'm rethinking some things. I was always told God doesn't speak to us except through the Bible. I don't know if I agree anymore. Thoughts? To be fair, I'm not Reformed, but to be fair, their problem, a Reformed guy's objection would not necessarily be to God speaking to someone. It would be giving some sort of new revelation, in the sense, some new message about, for humanity or something like that. I think, at least I was told that by a Reform guy. I don't know if that's standard Reform, because I was asking about various things and so on. And he's like, no, God could do this. It's just, you can't be bringing new revelation or something like that. That would be a problem. But again, we'd have to ask a Reform guy. As far as God not speaking to people, that would be strange to say that God can't do that or something like that. And I can think of passages where they're getting it from, like, God spoke to us by the prophets and, finally he spoke to us through his son and so on. And, but even that wouldn't make sense as far as, like the son would be the end, because God continued, he spoke to Paul and so on. Apart from that, if you're just going to make it a rule that God can't speak to anyone after the apostles, I'd have to say, where are you getting that from? So I know there is some difference of opinion within the Reformed. Whatever is the official position of someone who's saying that after the time of the apostles, God could not speak to someone, I'd have to say chapter and verse. And if they're sola scriptura, they shouldn't be saying things unless they've got it from the scripture. So anyway, the point is, I don't know what scripture you'd base that on.
Sola scriptura. You know what's funny?
Child marriage, according to AP, even though we don't agree. What?
Yeah. Oh, no, totally unrelated, but you just mentioned you mentioned something, explaining something, and what's very funny is I don't know if you remember this, but when people ask me about things that are difficult to me in Christianity, or difficult about God, for example, or when some people brought up things like the Trinity as a problem, I said here and there that I never considered the Trinity a problem. My problem is rather with the atonement, or with Jesus coming and with God descending and taking human flesh and sacrificing himself for us and so on. The whole concept, the whole idea of that, I always said this is one of those things that like I don't understand why that would be considered necessary and so on. And I received lots of answers to that throughout the years, but it's actually when I went to church for the second time or so, or for the third time, I approached the priest about having thoughts and having doubts and having like waiting to be convinced that something is true and so on, which is why he decided to meet up with me somewhere with a monk that he trusts a lot, and they basically sat down and said, so what are some things that are on your mind? And I brought up that. I said, well, one of the things that over the years didn't really make sense to me and that I had questions about was the whole atonement issue, which like, why did God choose to make it like this, to send down himself or to send down his son to be sacrificed, to atone for our sins and so on? Like, why is this necessary for redemption? Isn't this all a little bit, whatever, unnecessary? And there, actually, I was given this speech, and I'm just pointing this out right now. I'm not going to sit here and explain it, actually, but I'm just going to point out right now that it was actually very, very, very changing and transforming, that I sat down and listened to those guys give me a very, very nice explanation of it, of how God is absolutely not doing it because that's what he has to do. This is not something that has to happen. It is simply done that way to give you guidance in your life, and to also basically display the beauty and the love of God as the most high being descends and becomes so low on your own level and sacrifices himself and fights death and so on. I don't know. Not sure why I'm bringing this up right now, but this comes to my mind right now. I feel like this is something that I want to talk about more often sometime in the future, maybe with somebody who can explain this nicely. Maybe I should invite my priest or that monk and say, hey, come sit here with me, and I want to talk to you in front of a camera. I don't know if they would do that.
They will be humiliated.
Anyway. Yeah.
Hey, look at this. We got this nonsense over here again. Grim Zeal says, in Jeremiah, it speaks about a prophet. That's not how you spell prophet. Named Passer. And also, God deceived Jeremiah. I think Jeremiah 20. And then he gives the reference. Dude, you need to stop embarrassing yourself with this nonsense you get from some stupid Dawa page. I'm gonna give you what's going on in Jeremiah. You can check it yourself. So, if you want, as far as God deceived me. Yeah, start in chapter 4, verses 9 to 11. That's where you have Jeremiah saying in verse 10. Then I said, alas, sovereign Lord, how completely you have deceived this people in Jerusalem, saying you will have peace when the sword is at our throats. Look at that. I said, this is Jeremiah, alas, sovereign Lord, how completely you have deceived this people in Jerusalem. So you got Muslims, they'll realize, it says God deceived the people. No. It says Jeremiah said, you've deceived us by saying we're going to have peace when an army's coming against us. Then what happens? God explains to them, I didn't tell you were going to have peace. I didn't say you that. You guys made that up. You guys are the ones that made up the rule that no matter what happens, no matter how much you rebel, I'm just going to bless you and protect you from all harm. That is not what I said. That is not what I said at all. Go back. It's in the law. If you rebel against me, I will treat you the same way I treated the pagan nations. He corrects him. He's going, what? We've heard that you're going to protect us no matter what. And then Jeremiah thinks that he's going to protect Jeremiah no matter what. And Jeremiah is getting horribly abused all over the place. He becomes like a miniature version of Israel, thinking God's going to protect him. And then he gets horribly abused and so on. He goes, oh, you deceived me into thinking this. And then it's, what are you talking about? I didn't say that prophets aren't going to suffer. So, dude, you need to be a little careful by saying, oh, it says right here, deceived, and not actually paying attention to anything that's actually going on in the book. Hope that helps. If it doesn't, then I don't think you are sincere at all.
Hope that answers the question.
Brother makes a good point. Hearts from Asa, thank you. Carmen James, no comments. Hey, AP, there is a saint in the Orthodox Church. No, there's not. Who might interest you. Alexander Schmorell. How many times have you talked about Alexander Schmorell, man? How are you trying to inform people on that? He was a member of the White Rose. Oh my goodness, really? The White Rose? With Hans and Sophie Scholl and Christoph Probst and Alexander Schmorell? This is all brand new. No, we don't mean to be mean, but yeah, we've been talking about that.
Yeah, it's a very, very based saint. I actually shared his story on Twitter a few weeks ago. Then I deleted it because I stopped just posting about stuff like that for a while. But then I just recently, I think yesterday, retweeted something from the channel Harmony, which is an Orthodox Christian channel. They make like short films, videos, really good stuff. And I think they're currently making a series, which they will later turn into a whole standalone video or film about Alexander Schmorell and his fight against the Nazis. I think they also decided to do this because of the whole recent developments of people trying to mix Nazi stuff into Christian stuff. So they, as Orthodox Christians, came out to show somebody like Alexander Schmorell how he was a brave fighter who also even explicitly in his letters, in his leaflets to the public, said things like that Hitler spreads venom with his mouth. When he speaks of peace, he means war. When he speaks of God, he means the devil, and so on. Very, 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 like, people with very, very much courage. Yeah. I actually ordered an icon of his that I'm supposed to receive that I wanted to display and just tell people about.
Yeah, and guys, those people, Hans Scholl, Sophie Scholl, and so on, the people who did they were basically printing leaflets calling for resistance against the German rulers. And they eventually got caught with distributing the leaflets and so on. They were all executed. Mm-hmm. And anyway, cool stuff. Way back in German, we had to read the White Rose in German. And so, yep, cool stuff. Matter of fact, you know what? You know what'd be cool? The leaflets were brilliant. If you read them, they were brilliant because they're basically the members of the White Rose. They're basically a mixture of medical students and philosophy students. They're all really, really smart. A bunch of medical students and philosophy students, and calling for resistance against the German leaders, and very, very, very powerful leaflets that they spread around. I've never been able to find like auctioning off one of the original leaflets. Like you get pictures of them and so on, and you could get the text of them very, very easily anywhere online. But an actual leaflet, like I don't know if there's still like people got them hanging on their walls and so on, or if there's just not a lot survived. I don't know. Maybe they're in museums.
Speaking of it, you can find the leaflets online, the whole texts of them. You can even order it. I thought just a few days ago of just getting all of them to read and to post about.
We should do a show where we go through them. We just read through these leaflets, because guess what, guys? A lot of those points would still be relevant today. resisting evil governments doing evil things.
Yes.
Just wanted to point out that the guy who raised the objection about Jeremiah, he said, "Thank you, David Wood. Love you guys so much. God bless." So yeah, that was not a troll trying to start trouble. Apparently, that was a guy who heard it and was concerned about the issue.
It's what's very, very interesting about the whole White Rose thing as well is that so most of the leaflets of the White Rose talk in general about oppression and evil and deception by the Nazis and so on, but especially the second leaflet goes into Jews, into the whole question on Jews, and it basically says we don't want to sit here and address and talk about the so-called Jewish question, but we have to address the fact that since the war began, over 300,000 Jews have been brutally murdered, and so on. So, and there is no way to justify this. They are humans, and so on. So it's like just in the second leaflet, they started defending the Jews and calling out the genocide against them being committed by the Nazis. So here you have directly a revered Christian people, a saint, other saints of different denominations, of different traditions, coming together and defending the Jews from the genocide in written form, publishing this to all German people with urgency very, very early on. And I don't know, these people they had courage, man. They had courage, and they were taken and they were brutally killed.
Mm-hmm. And
another one who was brutally killed was here. I have her. This is Maria of Paris. Her icons, so Saint Maria of Paris, it says love to the end and without exception. She was another Christian who was a nun, who actually had a place where she accepted homeless people and helped them. And during the Second World War, she started receiving a bunch of Jews, giving them fake baptismal certificates and saying, no, this is a Christian. You can't take him, and so on.
Oh, yeah. So I took a picture of her on from the museum. I took a picture of her, but yeah, it wasn't that. It was a photograph of her. But yeah. I could post that too.
She was sent to a gas chamber, actually.
Yeah, and I mentioned once before my wife always loved the story of Sophie on her way to be executed. She's walking and someone hands her a piece of candy as she's walking, and she goes, "Oh, thank you. I haven't eaten yet." And then she eats the candy as she's walking to be executed. But she was apparently pretty based and so on. Just ooh, candy.
They executed them with the guillotine. That's pretty messed up too.
Yeah. Probably pretty messy too. A little messy. And I liked this. I liked a couple things about Hans. There was back when they had the H. Jungen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was in the youth group for the Germans and so on, and it was like Boy Scouts. By the way, it's brilliant. The guy understood. The guy with a little mustache understood. Get the kids on your side. If you get the kids, and the parents send the kids to what amounted to the Boy Scouts, but completely for indoctrination purposes. Then you send the kids home, and you've got a spy in everyone's house. You've got spies in everyone's house. Anyway, you had Hans Scholl, and he was the leader of his group, of the Jungen, and they kind of made their own flag, and they took a vow. They vowed that they would defend their flag, but the other leaders came along. The real guys came along, and look, you can't have your own flag. We only have one flag here. And the guy told the kid, there was a kid, they had a young kid holding it. And they told the young kid, hand over that flag. But the kid had, they'd all taken an oath that they would defend their flag. So the kid didn't know what to do. So he's just standing there. And basically the flag started shaking, right? Because the kid's trembling. The guy's in his face. Going, hand that flag over. Hand that flag over. I gotta hand that flag over, right? And so Hans basically jumped out and just slapped the crap out of the dude for scaring the kid and stuff like that. Anyway, he got in all kinds of trouble for that. And then the other cool thing about Hans, apart from the whole white rose, was after they got found out that once the Germans found out that they were found out who's distributing these leaflets, they know everyone there. They said no one could have ever in a trillion years caught Hans. If he had an opportunity to run, they said you would have never in a million years caught this guy. He was like a champion mountain climber and stuff like this. He knew all the trails. They said he could have gone right over to any mountain and you would have never seen that guy again. He would have appeared in some other country. But he didn't. He didn't run. He decided to stay with all the rest of them and stuff rather than run. So anyway, cool people. We do need to go through those one time, so that those would be cool reminders. Matter of fact, we should do like a series where we go through. I think there were like 6. I think there were like 6 of the leaflets. We should just do like a week where we go through like one per day and like examine it really carefully and discuss it and stuff, because those are cool people writing cool stuff.
Yes. And they were all kinds of different Christians. I mean, they were Orthodox, Catholic, Protestant, and so on.
Allah, my pet mouse, sends his or her squeaks. We always love the squeaks of Allah the mouse. Think they know the way? Who? What is this? Think they know the way?
Yes, they do.
What that means? I think that was a reference to the typo that they. If she's 4, you can score. From Daniel Apologetics. Daniel's funny. Guys, everyone check out Daniel Apologetics channel. Makes good stuff. If she's 4, you can score. If she's 9, it's fine. We should come up with rhymes for every age for the Dawa guys. Who would win in a Turkish boxing match, AP or Bald Bull?
Who the heck is Bald Bull?
That's from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, man. That was way before your time.
Oh.
But yeah, Bald Bull. Bald Bull's a beast, guys. Come on. Bald Bull's one of the greatest fighters in the world.
Powerful.
AP, please do Arab voice. It makes me laugh. Also, why haven't you converted to the one true faith yet? Jim Bob Randy's Southern Baptist Church. Good point.
That's, yeah. I don't know why I haven't. Maybe I should have.
Yeah, you should have.
Maybe I should have done that.
Yep.
Wallahi.
Comes with a free pickup truck.
Yeah.
Off topic. Have you seen the video circulating of Christian being stoned? Not sure where or when. No, haven't seen that. You familiar with that?
I haven't seen. No, I haven't seen.
I mean, I've seen stoning videos. It's normally like a woman. Don't forget to shake it after you pee. Don't forget to shake Mahmoud after you pee. Daoud and Ape, you need to tone down your Islamophobia. Momo is a trailblazing, trouble-closeted gay who was an orphan and hated at a young age. You owe all Muslims an apology during Pride Month. That is correct. If you put everything we know about Muhammad together, he checks a lot of boxes in the victim on the victim checklist, even though he was a horrible oppressor.
Yes.
Never forget the golden shower rule. The golden rule. That's funny. we should have that. The golden rule versus Dawa golden shower rule.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What did you say? I do love that part. Wait a minute. What did you say? Ali Dawa Central. Yeah. Pathetic little weaklings, yeah. This just misrepresenting me and my little wife, isn't it? Stop misrepresenting the Quran, yeah? Or we'll invade your stream, yeah? And we're proud of that, alhamdulillah. Yeah, could you imagine him and his 35 viewers from a live stream trying to invade one of ours? We wouldn't even notice. In fact, they could be trying to invade us right now. We wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
How dare you be live at the same time as God Logic? Yes, we do not coordinate live streams very frequently, but we should actually. All the YouTubers should coordinate. Say, okay, if I'm going live at this time, to get to where we're like everyone's basically any time during the day, someone is live somewhere. As a truck driver, my biggest fear is I get in an accident while listening to your stream, and when they bring up my dash cam, you could sleep with a 5-year-old is blaring through my speakers. You get it? He's watching us, and then he crashes, and then they show up, and he's got, it's okay to have sex with the 5-year-old yet. That's going on. That is good incentive not to get in any accidents. I'm writing a book about a zombie apocalypse. It's meant to explore the problem of evil and suffering. How could faith survive this? Any ideas or advice in general about it? Well, I do like the idea if it's well done. Could have a zombie apocalypse. And that has actually come up in some zombie storylines. I saw some of The Walking Dead, but there was some sort of priest on there who had gotten locked out his congregation or something like this, and so he had to struggle for redemption and something like that. Anyway,
The Jumping Dead.
Yeah, I would just say make it good, learn the genre, but that could be explored in the Talmudic Ezra Deeths. The Ezra Deeths. It is stated that the Emerald Tablets confirm Ezra is son of God. Ezra worship must spread. The true Injil foremost. This is all correct. I heard MAGA influencer Blair White jumped on the anti-Semitic bandwagon. Also, we have Carthaginian DNA samples now, and they're close to Ashkenazism. Is that true?
Why
Blair?
the heck would she jump into it? That's so ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that's the concern. If like it becomes normal, you got Candace, you got the Hodge twins, you got everyone. It's like,
Oh, I recently saw somebody else that I always disliked. You know that I always disliked him. Jump into the whole anti-Israel thing. It's such a grift, man.
Who?
What's his name? What's his face? What's his face?
I'm thinking
What's
of
his
someone that I saw recently who jumped into it.
name? Yeah, we're probably thinking of the same person, are we? Well known.
Was he popular and then fell from popularity and then?
No,
started
he's still
becoming-
kind of
no?
popular.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember his name. Why can't I remember his name, man? Everybody knows who I'm talking
I
about.
was thinking of Milo. I saw Milo saying something.
Oh no, Milo has always been a Nazi. He's an outright Nazi.
Okay.
Steven Crowder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not surprising though.
Yeah, he has always been a grifter, kind of, who just goes with whatever is popular. So
It is interesting because like conservatives and stuff, those would normally be guys who are like pro-Israel, but you got the influencers who they're basically competing for attention online, and apparently this is just I don't know. Apparently it's influencing the influencers, so we have to crush them all and humiliate them.
tis very, very funny. It's like this is where just people show their true face, and but being pro-Israel was the default standard thing among the conservative right, for example.
But why are you a dispensationalist?
And then suddenly, as things change right now, suddenly everyone starts jumping on that whole, oh, I have to say something bad about Israel. I have to say something bad about Jews.
Because they didn't read the Schofield Bible.
Yeah, it's when you see that suddenly people are jumping on that for no reason at all, just because there is a popular crowd that wants to see that kind of stuff. It just puts the entire credibility of these people into doubt, and
Yeah.
it just is quite obvious that these people just want to appeal to whatever is popular at the moment. They don't really have principles. They just want to go with whatever is popular, which is what will make them popular and what will make them money. That's basically it.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, I see all the time. I see people posting, "I miss the old Candace," and then they'll post a video of her from like 4 years ago where she's saying the exact opposite of what she's saying now. And just this ongoing thing. But yeah, guys, people want attention. And a sad reality is if you're on social media and so on and posting content, you are seeking attention. That is true. But don't let your trying to get attention make you compromise. That's why me and AP, you could saw our heads off. We're not changing our views. Unless it's like from Islam to atheism to agnosticism to Christianity, something like that. Then people can keep changing their views over and over again. But there's other things that won't change.
I don't know if this is it, but Blair White shared an obvious stupid bait thing where she shared those screenshots of the of the 3 things that people present from the JFK files and said, call me a Nazi, but I'm starting to think Israel had something to do with it.
Look at this, it's clear.
Like the things that people have presented so far are actually so one document where somebody says we now have plenty of money, we have Jews as backers or something like that, and this is just a lead or something that the CIA picked up at some point, but then didn't further find anything on it, so they just stored it as among their files. That's it. That's all it is. That's literally all it is. Somebody says something and they store it. That's it. Another thing is Israel helps the CIA with their investigations after the event, right after the assassination, especially with international investigations, with trying to track down Soviet, spies or people who travel through Israel to Soviet areas and so on. Israel helps them out with intelligence. In return, the CIA classifies their partnership with Israel and says these files may be declassified except for the highlighted part, and then they highlight Israel because the CIA doesn't want everyone to know that Israel helped them, receive information about different countries. So, but these idiots, they look at the file and they say, "Wait a minute, why did they highlight Israel and say this shouldn't be declassified? Does this mean Israel killed JFK?" It's so ridiculous, man. This is basically what she also did.
Yeah, well, what's funny is if there weren't one single mention of Israel or any Jew anywhere in there, they would say, "You see, this is the proof that the Jews were controlling everything and keeping their names out of it." And if you have a couple of references, "You see, this is the proof." And if you had a ton, it would be, "You see, this is the proof." It doesn't matter what the actual evidence is. Somehow the Jews are always behind it. And, if they're not mentioned anywhere, it's because they're that brilliant to keep their names out of it. If they are mentioned, it's
That's the funny thing. There are 60,000 pages, and Israel is mentioned on 4 of those. And they're like, "Oh, this proves that it's Israel." Mm-hmm. And not even mentioned in a negative light. Michael says here, "I think AP may have misunderstood something Crowder said. He's actually not anti-Jewish. He's just against AIPAC and outlawing speech, even if it's retarded speech." Here's the thing.
I would also have a problem with an organization shutting down speech and so on. But you have to see what are they actually calling against. If they're actually calling, "Hey, you need to do something about all these kids screaming death to then blocking people and stuff like that." Okay, there are lines. There are lines.
No, here's the thing. A person who for many years didn't say anything at all suddenly has something to say
when it becomes popular.
About the pro-Israel lobby, for example. Where were you all these years? Why didn't you say anything about it all these? Suddenly you say it right now when everybody's talking about it.
Right after Candace Owens blazes the trail.
Yeah, it's because it's a popular thing to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's also so ridiculous because if you're against lobbying and if you're against foreign lobbying, it's one thing. But if among all of the lobbying and foreign lobbying, you pick out one certain lobby and speak against that, just like if you're among all the countries that do things, you pick out one country and only speak about that one, I think you have a bigger problem here, man.
Mm-hmm. Favorite maid here says, "BBC is a joke, absolute clown reporting." Yeah, and again, it's just report what the guy says. You don't have to put your 2 cents in it and deceive people. It's what they always do. Anytime it's about Islam, they have to toss in some deception. Just one quick one here. We've been through this a trillion times, but hey, Daoud, I had troubles with this verse for a long time. Deuteronomy 13, 6 through 10. And the explanation of "we aren't bound by the Old Testament laws" doesn't soothe it. Please help. Well, 1, that is not a command to you. 2, look at who that is actually a command to. That's a command to a group of people who were just led out of Egypt through the Red Sea, which had parted, led through the desert by a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire, raining down food from heaven, bringing water out of a rock, going through all this land, saying, "Hey, do you want to enter into this covenant? If you're entering into this covenant is tied to this piece of land. If you don't want to be in the covenant, the border is that way. If you're entering into this covenant, then here you are." And what does this say? If someone who is familiar with all of this, because they all were, says, "You know what? Instead of listening to that pillar of cloud that guided us through all this and performed all these miracles and part of the Red Sea and brought us in here, it's not even saying you just reject it or you just be quiet or something like that. It's saying you are going around in the country openly rebelling, saying, let's all go in a different direction and serve these other gods." And you're basically asking, well, what's going on? We're not like that. No one here is in that situation. If you turn away from Islam or Christianity or atheism or anything like that, you're in a different situation from God actually being there in a pillar of cloud or a pillar of fire and giving orders. When someone says, hey, that pillar of cloud right there that's giving us these orders and that just took us out of Egypt through the Red Sea into the promised land, we don't need to listen to that anymore. Let's go listen to this. Rock over here. Let's go worship this rock. Everyone, let's all worship this rock. That is a completely different sort of rebellion. That's just completely different kind of rebellion. You are, you know the truth, and you are deliberately going against it and basically saying that, hey, pillar of fire, what are you going to do? It's a different kind of thing. You're not in that situation. But if you have a problem with that, well, okay, you got a problem with it. Nothing I can do. Well,
Yeah, okay. So some people say that he actually wasn't bad, and he actually defended certain things about AIPAC and all that. So,
Crowder?
I might be wrong about Crowder.
Okay,
I
well,
haven't
quit
really
falsely accusing Crowder.
I haven't seen what he actually said in his entire show. I only saw what he posted on Twitter, and what his account posted in the aftermath of the JFK files, which was just massively liked by the Nazis and all that. I basically just based my opinion on that, so I would have to probably watch his whole speech about that whole stuff.
That's what we do.
But, yeah.
Love from
I might be
Ohio.
mistaken, but-
Love from Ohio. Keep up the Lord's work in exposing Momo. Peace be upon him. Jesus saved me from a heroin addiction. The power of God is real. Based. Yes, that is in the realm of the miraculous, because I've seen the impact that has on people close up. Okay, thank you. Wir brauchen mehr Menschen wie die weiße Rose. That's true.
Yeah.
Any word from Ali Dawa after we Christ is kinged his stream? Haha, so powerful.
Apparently, he talked about it briefly on his next live stream or something, and then he actually started saying things like, "And they came here and they started donating" or something. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but people were saying that he actually talked about us.
David, I was talking on IG to a Muslim about the Islamic dilemma, and he responded by saying the Quran is the only text that has not been corrupted, the only religious text memorized cover to cover for 1,400 years. One, that would be irrelevant. The Quran affirms the Bible. So if you have a perfectly preserved Quran, it's affirming the inspiration, the preservation, and the authority of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. So if he says those scriptures are corrupt and unreliable, then his book is wrong and cannot be trusted. That's the main point of the Islamic dilemma. And as kind of supplementary, it's not really relevant to the Islamic dilemma what the preservation of the Quran is, but it's all nonsense about the text being perfectly preserved. Trying to preserve the Quran by memory was a disaster. They lost massive amounts of the Quran by trying to preserve it by memory. Hundreds of verses, over 200 verses were lost just from Surah 33, because the only people who had it, who had the passages memorized, died in battle, and the only copy they had got eaten by Aisha's sheep and so on. In fact, the entire reason for making the Quran into a book was to avoid losing more of it. And even after that, they ended up with all kinds of differences, and Uthman had to burn them all. And even today, they have different Qurans in different parts of the world. So yeah, you'll keep in mind, Ezra, you'll have your work to do, but you just have to take him through that step by step. And we have a follow-up. He was claiming also that Paul contradicts Jesus and that the previous scriptures are corrupted. You're basically saying that he says normal things that Dawa guys say. Yeah, we know what Muslims say. You have to show them that what they're saying, because of what they've been taught by their Dawa guys, actually contradicts their own religion. In fact, the early generations of Muslims, they thought Paul was as good as gold, because they actually believed the Quran. The Quran said that Allah was protecting the true followers of Jesus until they became uppermost. Well, guess what? The people who became uppermost were fans of Paul, and therefore he wouldn't have become uppermost. Paul's teachings wouldn't have become uppermost in part of the scriptures unless he were on the side of Allah. So just have to, study the stuff and share it. Thank you for your work. Is it possible to invite you, Ridvan, for a debate in Switzerland? David is welcome too, but I don't think you speak German. And
I would be happy to.
I probably wouldn't be allowed in Switzerland. They keep making these ETA rules and so on, and then not granting me one because I'm too controversial or because I've got a criminal record, whatever they're deciding.
You're too country. I would be happy to go to Switzerland to do that. Yeah, just has to be just worth it, and yeah,
You should
you know.
prepare an awesome speech about Islam in the style of the most famous German speaker of all time, and then go around all the German speaking world giving that speech and rallying people.
That's funny.
You think
I'm actually supposed to have a debate soon. I just agreed to it, but I'm supposed to have a debate at the end of April. Oh, that's this month, right? At the end of this month with Andrew Wilson somewhere in person at some university or so.
you will be humiliated?
Beast.
But I don't think you speak German. Oh, really? Then how do I know? Und der Haifisch mit der Zähne und sie trägt im Gesicht. Huh? I know that. You think young Muslims are about 40% going away from Islam? A lot of Muslims I know drink beer and go to clubs, but don't eat pork. Lol. Yeah, these guys will be partying and going to the clubs and being, but I don't eat pork, so I'm good. I mean, it kind of shows that it's like a fake religion, not because they're, dietary restrictions or something, but Islam just says, here, we'll give you a couple of like pointless little tasks that don't do anything, but make you feel like you're super like, oh, you just gorged yourself twice a day with food for an entire month. See how holy you are. Have you seen Texas made Pakistan Day? Tree reported it. I saw something about Pakistan Day, and then they got turned down. But Epic City got turned down or something like that. But I haven't followed it, so I'm not sure. Yeah, invading your stream in 3, 2, 1, talk beer. Yep, it happened. Guys, a bit of cash, but much love. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's a very funny fellow here, Keine Ahnung, with a German name, saying, "Oh, who did Jesus call the children of the devil?" I just want to ask you a very, very, very funny question here, Keine Ahnung. Was Nicodemus also a child of the devil? Was he also evil? Was his father the devil? What do you think about that? What about all the others? What about St. Paul himself? Was he also, was his father the devil as well? And what exactly does Jesus say when he describes those people that he talks to, the Pharisees, who fight him and who want to, gang up on him and have him killed, when he refers to them as the children of the devil? Is it because they're Jews? Is it because they're of the Jewish race?
Yes,
is it because they follow the Jewish traditions? Is that why? Because in the very same book, he also tells the other Jews around him to do what the Pharisees say, but just not do what they do. So that would mean that he is actually telling the other Jews there to follow the teachings of the Pharisees. But you are here telling us that he was basically calling all Jews the children of the devil, or something like that. It's because you have no understanding of what you're reading. Instead of asking dumb questions here, you should maybe go and pick up a study Bible or something, or you should go and ask somebody who knows.
So wait, is Keine Ahnung just over here whining about Jews? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then by Keine Ahnung, we got better things to do than hear you whine about Jews all day. There's plenty of platforms for that. This ain't one of them. If you actually have anything serious at any point, you can do that when we're doing something about that, but just not interested in the constant distractions of Jews. Kenyan Muslim woman killed Christian couple by poisoning their food after taking her daughter to church. The daughter ate the food and died too. Not familiar with that. And then Ezra, who was asking about his friend in the Islamic dilemma, I responded to him with Surah 5, verse 68. Good. And still said the scriptures are corrupted. You just have to point out, why are you contradicting your God? 568 says Jews and Christians have no ground to stand upon unless we stand upon the Torah, the gospel, and all the revelation that has come to us. Another good one to bring up along these lines, because I don't know. I think it's very clear. Well, what sucks is the rest of the verse isn't clear. It's talking about things that you kind of have to look at commentaries to know what it's talking about. But you have they love going to Surah 2 verse 79. Go to Surah 2 verse 85. Surah 2 verse 85. That's where Allah talks to the Jews about things they've been doing that go against the Torah and other things that they're doing in accord with the Torah. And Allah says, do you believe in part of the book and not all of it? If you only believe in part of the book, he will punish you in this life and he will send you to hell. So think about this. This is Allah talking about the Jews of Muhammad's time saying, you guys are not allowed to just believe in part of your book. You have to believe in all of it. If you only believe in part of your book, Allah is going to send you to hell. Why is this relevant? Ask your friend whether Jews should believe in all of the Torah that they have or just the parts of it that line up with Islam. Guarantee is going to say just the parts of it that line up with Islam. And then you say, okay, according to your book, you're going to hell for saying that. And anyone who listens to you is going to hell. You can't believe in parts of it. You have to believe in all of it. And so, just you got keep working at it, keep bringing up the passages, but always point out you're saying one thing and Allah is saying the exact opposite. Who should we listen to? If Allah says, even if you just go with the verse you brought up, if Allah says we have no ground to stand upon unless we stand upon the Torah and the gospel, and you say don't stand upon those, don't take those books as your foundation, they're corrupt. Who are we supposed to listen to? You, who are telling us don't trust our books, or Allah, who says we have nothing else to go to? We have nothing else we can possibly go to. And then if he says me, oh great, you're committing shirk. Got that? Pulse. And that's how it's done. But Ezra, we are putting together an entire series going through the Islamic dilemma. We will have.
Wait, is this the same Ezra that the Jews say is the son of Allah?
That's the what else? What other Ezra is there? Please accept my jizya payment. I am indeed humbled and subdued. Yes, Daniel, you feel yourself humiliated. Do you think JC went to hell when in the grave? You do have ideas about that. Haven't been convinced by that. 2 questions about movies. Have you managed to watch Four Lions yet? No. But in my defense, I only watch a couple movies a year. And so that would be kind of down on the list. Also, La Haine is one of, or was that a show? I forget. I remember looking it up because people were talking about it, but no, I haven't gotten to it. Also, La Haine is one of my favorite movies. How different would a remake look, though? I don't know. I've never seen that. And let's see. D. Wood isn't anti-Christian. D. Wood isn't anti-Christian with the attempt to divorce the Jewish origin from Christianity, which ultimately leads to quasi-paganism. Most of these people end up unironically trashing Christ and the apostles. Wait, what? David Wood isn't anti-Christian with the attempt to divorce the Jewish origin from Christianity, which ultimately leads to quasi-paganism. Most of these people end up unironically trashing Christ and the apostles.
I think what he's trying to say is, David Wood, isn't it anti-Christian?
Oh, to attempt to divorce the Jewish origin, to attempt to separate Christianity from its That's
exactly what
origin.
It is. It's also usually pagan and even Gnostic historically. That's basically what it was. The same attempt was made by, if that is what you mean. And the question is not to me. I just want to say something here. The same attempt was made by early Gnostics, by Marcionism, right? It was made by different Gnostics. Was also made by the Nazis. There is a whole book about it. There is whole research about it. The Nazis made the same attempt of trying to separate Christianity from its Jewish origins and trying to make it look like the old scripture or the Old Testament is something that is rejected or that is evil and that is bad, and only the New Testament is now valid, and that is the true good book and all that. So there have been some people who try to make it look like that, where the Old Testament is evil and the New Testament is good, and others that accept just the scripture as it is, but try to then separate Jewishness entirely from Jesus. This is what the Nazis did, although they later began to implement actually the attempt to remove the Old Testament from the Bible. They actually started doing that. They actually started spreading Bibles that no longer had the Old Testament, for example. But yeah, go ahead, David. Your answer.
Yeah, I would just say you won't understand certain things in Christianity without the Jewish framework. And God did things in a certain way for a reason. So You can't just come along and take something and then say, okay, let's ignore the entire context of this and think it's going to make sense. All right, we got a couple more super chats. I do have to go in a couple minutes because again, I got to be on Robert Spencer's show. But I did want to respond to the BBC pretending. Well, you got all these scholars, and this guy's just some sort of radical thinking that you could marry a girl that young. Let's be honest here. We've seen it a million times, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sahih al-Bukhari, 5133. You have the chapter introduction. What's the chapter introduction? Giving one's young children, like an 8-year-old, which is exactly what the dad and the story did, apparently. Giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. Why is that? By virtue of the statement of Allah. It's because of the Quran that we know that giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. And they quote a section of Surah 65, verse 4, and for those who have no monthly courses, no monthly menstrual cycle, i.e. they are immature, and it talks about rules for divorcing them as they're being passed on to the next guy. You know what's funny is just yesterday a guy started arguing, oh, this isn't saying it's okay. It's not saying it's okay. It's just accepting the reality that someone may have done this. And therefore, it's talking about how you would divorce a girl. So it's not saying it's okay to marry a prepubescent girl. It's just accepting the reality that some people may have done it. And so how would you go about divorcing her? The iddah, which is the waiting period before the next guy can marry her, is what the verse is about. It's about how long the girl has to wait before the next guy has sex with her. And it says she has to wait 3 months. The iddah for the girl before puberty is 3 months. Says it right there on the page, right? Because that's what the Quran says. The iddah for the girl before puberty is 3 months. In other words, once her first husband, or it could be her second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth, because this is about passing around prepubescent girls, once her current husband divorces her, the next guy in line has to wait 3 months before he has sex with her. So don't tell me this is just accepting a sad reality of something that might happen. This is talking about how long she has to wait before the next guy has sex with her. And then as the example of marrying a young girl, we have narrated Aisha that the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old, and then she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. till his death. Guys, these hadiths are all over the place. There are over 200 of them giving the age of Aisha. So, the BBC is once again whitewashing Islam.
That's what they do.
Sadly. Last couple super chats here. To be fair, as or saying Israel bad, poor Palestinians gives you automatically the KXX and the billion Momos clicks. It's all about the money. Turned out not only Jews love money. Yeah, there are some grifts going on. You can have people who really believe these things. You can have sincere Muslims, sincere Dawah guys, and so on. You can have sincere gropers. You can have sincere anti-Semites and so on. But you could also have people who just kind of read the room and say, here are a bunch of gullible people that are easy to manipulate. I want them following me. And then you just start saying stuff. We should do that. You should do that. You should make some sort of fake anti-Semite account and just start saying like the dumbest thing you can possibly say about Jews, and watch how many hundreds of thousands of idiot followers you get just by saying the stupidest stuff you can think of about Jews.
There are actually many accounts that became popular after October 7 that are fake accounts where some dude just has an account with an AI profile picture of a woman and just makes a bunch of anti-Semitic and anti-Israel posts and rises from no followers to like 50,000 followers.
That's how it works.
And then eventually ends up changing the profile into something else.
That's how it works. Hey, P, saw Matt's response to you on X. Kind of rude if you ask me. Also ironic that he accused you of giving up on evidence and reason when he clearly doesn't care about such things himself. Matt Dillahunty responded to you?
I mean, he just gave a little response to, because I said that I don't know. It was several weeks ago, I think. and he responded and said snakes are good because I called some people snakes. And then he said also, interesting that you gave up on evidence and reason.
Yes,
I didn't respond.
I became a religitard. Oh, now we will mock you into coming back to atheism.
Sky Daddy.
Yeah, with your Sky Daddy. Oh, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy. Yeah, we've heard what the new atheists have to offer, ladies and gentlemen.
I know that other people made videos about me. For example, Metaphysician made a video about me. I haven't even watched it. I really don't care.
Last year when he made it was, and what is, oh my goodness, I bet AP's all confused about what to do because his wife's a Christian now. Oh, think about the drama, everyone. I'm turning into a drama channel. Let's speculate on the drama behind the scenes. I bet AP is losing his mind. What's he gonna do? Is he gonna beat her into submission like we do? It's pathetic. Drama channel. All of them are like drama channels now, man.
Yeah, I don't want to interact. I don't care. Whatever. Well, I don't care. I'm happy.
Impact Evangelism on YouTube had a shocking story by an apostate turned Christian in the UK. I recommend it.
Powerful. Impact Evangelism.
Impact Evangelism. I do the best reporting. BBC. I do the best reporting. Got God Logic and what do you mean there?
Powerful.
Let's see. Yeah, stop misrepresenting Ali D. I'm totally legal, yeah. Just turned 12. Alhamdulillah. Oh, that's Mrs. Ali Dawa. So that's his wife. That's why it was written. You're supposed to write it on a whiteboard, not in the chat, and then post a picture of the whiteboard. You guys need to watch Terrence Malick's A Hidden Life about the Catholic Franz Jägerstätter, who refused to fight for the Germans' best Christian movie. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Is that in English or German?
Good question.
Hey, it's Chloe. Have you guys read The History of Knights Hospitaller Malta by Vartot? He says some funny things about Momo, like he spread his wicked mischief. That is funny. He spread his wicked mischief. That's funny, especially since the Quran says, there are all sorts of penalties for the mischief makers. So it's actually bad if Muhammad's spreading mischief. But that is a funny saying. He spread his wicked mischief. Hey, quit spreading your wicked mischief, AP.
That's interesting.
You should say how long he has to wait so he doesn't get a say. What is that? You should say how long he has to wait. Who has to wait?
I don't know.
I missed what that was about. Annabelle. All right, last one here. Then we got to cut out. The Germans would have rewritten the gospel like Marcion and all Gnostic heretics before him if they won. Isn't that true? You've made that point, that they were inventing their own sort of
they were in the process of it.
version.
They were actually unfortunately there were quite a few people in the clergy in Germany that they convinced and that they were that gave in basically to power and influence and their reasoning, who were collaborating with the Nazis to work on changing the church and changing the Bible. The Nazis created this whole thing. So Hitler was anti-Christian. He hated Christianity. We know this from all his inner circle. All of them reported it, that he publicly said he's acting on behalf of God. He publicly identifies as Christian, but privately he hates Christianity, and he wants to get rid of it. But the plan was to get rid of it and to change it into a different religion by calling it positive Christianity or German Christianity.
Smart.
Which would basically separate the first of the Jewishness, secondly almost the entire story of Jesus, from Christianity, and turn him into something else. Turn Jesus into a heroic character that didn't suffer and die for your sins, but that was like heroic and that was like really showing it to the Jews and so on. And so that he's a strong figure.
Not some guy who faces down death itself, lays down his life for everyone else. No, we need a real hero.
Yeah. So they started printing and spreading a new Bible that would exclude the Old Testament and have and the New Testament rewritten with a strict reinterpretation and so on. They were really working on that, and the actual plan, according to Goebbels, was that after the war is over, they wanted to tackle all the churches and crack down on them and bring all of it under the control of the Nazi empire, where Hitler would be basically the head of the church, or somebody that he appoints would be the head of the church, and it would be a new Christian religion that's anti-Christian, basically. Pretty messed up.
There you have it. Talmudic Tunnel says AP never really believed in Dawkins.
You see?
AP didn't leave Dawkins. Dawkins left
Dawkins
AP. Age can be 6 because Quran does fix. I think you need to work on it a little bit, but I like the idea. And then Chloe says, Vertot, 18th century, Muhammad, the most crafty and dangerous imposter that had ever appeared in Asia. That for some reason, with all our learning and knowledge, people centuries ago were just better with sick burns, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're just better. They just had sick burns. Pretty cool. All right, everyone, I have to get going. I will be live on Robert Spencer's channel in 8 minutes. 8 minutes. For some dope stuff, and then I will be traveling for a couple days. I'll be speaking somewhere, and then I will be back. Hang on one last second. When talking about the Idda, you said, how long should she wait? The girl doesn't have a choice. That's true. This is just talking about when can the next guy jump on her. You gotta wait 3 months. Gotta wait 3 months instead of 3 monthly menstrual cycles for girls who have reached puberty. All right, everyone. I will see you in a few minutes if you're still joining us there. And other than that, we'll see you in a couple days. Catch y'all next time.